Three or four match activity is a strategy that helps provide students an engaging way to compare, contrast, and learn concepts. Much of the credit for this activity goes to Chuck Friesen, a colleague of mine. My name is Lenny Vermoss, and my contact information is on the screen. This is one of many homework alternatives that I have on my website, and these are ways to get students more engaged with doing homework. I also have several strategies for making homework effective on this web page. Three or four match activity involves taking a set of cards. In this case, I have 16 cards and matching them up. I have 4 cards that give a scenario about earning money, 4 cards that graph the information, 4 cards that have an equation, and 4 cards that have a table. And the object is to move it around. I really think one of the strengths of this is that students can kind of move and push cards from place to place so they get them lined up so that all of the 4 cards have the same scenario and match up. You can also change the difficulty of it by the numbers that you use. In this case, my numbers are not very close, and so you can just sometimes even just look at the numbers that are there, but a more difficult one would involve equations and scenarios that have the same numbers. This example, along with others, is on my website. Three or four match activity is really just another form of finding a match. You may use as few as 2 or as many as 4 or 5 different types of match. Some examples of some things you might do are a word, a description, and a graphic of that word. Or 4 would be a word, a description of the word, a sentence with a blank for the word. Here are a large number of math ones that you could use, and all of these would work very well for getting students to compare and contrast and match up these concepts. Graph, equation, and table would be good. The one that we're going to look at is a graph, equation, a table, and a story about a graph. And so what I want to do next is show you how to use a template to create these sets of cards. What I would like to do is show you how you can use a template to create these cards. The template is basically a chart table that has no borders on it. And you can see what I have here is I have a graph, I have a table within the table, I have an equation and a description of the graphic that I'm using. The table is easy to put in. The graphic is, equation is easy. You can even use the equation editor. The real advantage of using a Word document with a table is you can put in this pretty easy. The one thing you might have a little bit of trouble with is the graph. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time and just show you how to put a graph. Here's another situation, but notice that I'm missing my graph. So what I want to do is I use GeoGebra to create graphs. You could use a lot of other programs to create graphs. So I have a graph here, and here's my equation. And then I use a program called Snap and Drag, which is just a screenshot. So I'm going to hit here selection. And then what I do is I select what I want my graphic to be. So I'm going to select this area right here. It takes a picture of it, and my picture is just called this here. I can save that picture, but one of the things that I like about Snap and Drag is that what I can do is I open my document, and basically I just pull and drag this document into the chart. Now the document is way too large. Then what I do next is I just make this graphic small enough so that it fits onto the screen. And you might want to make the size of your table a little bit so that this one does 8 per page. You might want to make that, if you want bigger graphics, you could make that a little bit larger table and do that. But this one seems to work pretty well for the equations that I have. And basically then here's another set of 4 that I have. One of the things you'll notice about these equations is you can make them as hard or as easy as you want. Notice the equations have a lot of similar numbers. So I have 14 minus 4x, y equals 2x, y equals 2x plus 4, y equals 4x plus 2, y equals 2x plus 2. So all of these are pretty close together, which really causes the students to have to work hard to figure out where the matches are going to be. They just can't look at the numbers. Two more tips about the table. One is how do you add another row at the bottom? And the way you do that is you just go to the very last cell and you hit tab. And when you hit tab, it just adds another row for you. And I can go to the next one and then I can add another row. The other hint that I was given is the lines are here so you can kind of tell where it's at. But when I go to print this, what I do to I go to table settings and then I take off the lines so that when it prints and when I cut it out, I don't have to worry about getting exactly on the lines, and you can be off a little bit when you're cutting those cards up. The document, the template, as well as information about Snap and Drag is on my website. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you very much. Yes, I wanted to add just a little bit to this, some information that you might find important. The links for 3 and 4 match activity are on my website, and you can go to my website and there's some samples that I have there. If you want to use Snap and Drag, here's a link that will allow you. This is a free program. There are other screenshots that you can use. And there's different ones that you could use for a Windows machine as well. And this video was made with Camtasia Studio, which is something that I like to use.